Good morning, everyone. Thank you for signing on to today's Amtrak Vacations presentation on the National Park series. We're going to be running a series over the next couple of weeks, and today we are focusing on Glacier National Park. Fun fact, Glacier National Park is Amtrak Vacations' #1 selling destination. It's our top destination. So let's jump in, dive in, get into the spirit of the national parks as we jump in today. Popping up onto your screen now, there's a photo of me, Jared Kettinger. Yes, folks, I realize I look like a teenager. I apologize. But if any of you folks have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask me. I look young, but I've actually been with the company for over 8 years now. And so feel free to type in any questions that you might have into the questions box on the side of the GoToWebinar panel. And I'm also going to be asking you some questions as well as we jump in. So feel free to answer my questions with your answers by typing into the questions box on the side of the GoToWebinar panel. Again, I'm so excited to have all you folks here on the presentation today. Important to note, we have two handouts that you can download from the side of the GoToWebinar panel. Number one is highlighting our current flash sale event. I'll go over that in a moment. And another is highlighting the sleeper accommodations on board the train. I know a lot of folks have questions about what is it like traveling on board the train? What are the sleeper compartments like? What am I going to expect when I get on Amtrak? Well, there is a free downloadable handout that you can take with you, but I'll also be covering that in a moment. Now, folks, don't fall asleep on the opportunities. This is a picture of my cat Merle, named after country star Merle Haggard. Merle has fallen asleep on his opportunities. He's napping in the sunlight, but we have a big flash sale event going on now. And so I know things are a little bit strange in the idea of travel nowadays, a lot of stuff going on in the world, but don't fall asleep on the opportunities as Merle has. And so let's jump in and make sure we get you guys all focused on what's going on with our flash sale event. So as long as you book by March 6th on a package, and a package is hotel, sightseeing, and attractions all bundled together with the rail travel experience, and then you upgrade to a sleeping compartment, you can save $200 to $300 off per couple. Now, I did mention that I was going to ask some questions. So who here on the webinar was aware that, or was not aware, you can say yes or no, that Amtrak Vacations books packages, hotels, and sightseeing along with the rail? Did anyone know that? Yes or no? Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of yeses come through. Thank you, folks. Again, you are not like my little cat Merle. You are aware. You're on top of things. You're not falling asleep at the steering wheel, as so to speak. So that is all excellent. Thank you, folks. Popping up onto your screen now is the Amtrak Vacations Systems Map. Everywhere you're seeing a colorful line on the map, that's a route that Amtrak travels on. Everywhere you're seeing a dark blue or navy blue dot on the map, that's a destination that Amtrak Vacations travels to, where we can incorporate hotels, sightseeing, and attractions bundled together with the rail travel experience. Now, a secondary question. Who here was aware that Amtrak Vacations can also book Canadian Via Rail? As you can see by the map, the route in Canada that's traveling coast to coast and up into the Canadian Rockies. Was anyone aware that we can book the Canadian Rail as well? I love Lauren Jackson's response. I knew I'm so smart in parentheses. Lauren, thank you. And I do see there's a lot of yeses, a couple of no's, and that's okay. That's why we do the presentations. Again, don't fall asleep like my cat did, like Merle did. You're going to want to stay aware of what we can do here. And you might see Merle, he's going to be basically our mascot going forward. So you might see him on some other presentations in funny other positions as cats do. But I'm glad that you folks, for the most part, were aware that we can do the packages and Canada as well. Now, what makes Amtrak vacations different? Number one, it's a bucket list experience. I can't tell you how many of our past travelers said that the number one reason that they went with us in the first place is that it was an opportunity to check an item off of their travel bucket list. Do any of you folks, yes or no, have a travel bucket list? If so, let me know where you'd like to go. Is it US? Is it Canada? Is it Europe? Where do you want to go? I'm seeing lots of yeses for the travel bucket list. Let us help accomplish all of this. And I'm seeing national parks, Canadian Rockies. Yes, perfect. That's awesome. Freedom and flexibility. We can customize, tailor make any of our itineraries to fit your travel needs. So we can rework our packages for your travel specifications. Hassle-free. Hassle-free because all you have to do to book is give us a call at 1-800-268-7252. The number's at the bottom of the screen. We are the official tour operator for Amtrak. What does that mean? That means that no one else around the world can say they are Amtrak's official vacation partner. We are the only ones that can do this. City to city service. We travel from downtown city to downtown city all throughout the USA and Canada. In fact, there are over 500 different stations to choose from. And then we always have a little something for everyone, whether it's the opportunity to travel cross country and seeing the world from the window of the train, or going to a destination that you might not have ever traveled to before, but always wanted to go, or just one moment along the whole vacation. I know we've all had the experience. You've gone on a vacation, you've had a good time, but there was one moment on the trip that made the whole trip worth it. That is what we can do here and create for you here at Amtrak Vacations. Now, it's important to note that all vacations are customizable. What does that mean? We can start you from your local hometown. As I mentioned, there are over 500 different stations to choose from. And so you might see some starting from points on some of the packages today, but that doesn't mean that's the only place you can start of. So just know there are over 500 different stations. We can get you coming from your local hometown. Everything above is possible. Now, what does customize mean? Customize is a big word, but it can mean a lot of stuff. So let's kind of dive into that. Now, folks, when you're booking an escorted trip, when you're booking a cruise, you can't customize anything. It's whatever the escorted group tour or the cruise has dictated. However, when you book through Amtrak Vacations and you see an itinerary in our brochure on our website, when talking with one of our vacation consultants or working with a local travel agent friend that you work with, all of our trips can customize. So imagine you have the Rails to the Grand Canyon itinerary. This includes 2 overnights on the train between Los Angeles, California and Williams, Arizona and back. So one night going overnight from Los Angeles to Williams, one overnight from Williams to Los Angeles, as well as 2 nights at the south rim of the Grand Canyon. So we package you actually staying for 2 nights at the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Now imagine you want to do 3 nights at the south rim as opposed to 2. No problem. We can add an extra night. to extend the stay. Maybe you want to do some hiking, or you're a historian and you want to learn more about the area, or you just think that 2 nights isn't enough, you want 3, no problem. Then imagine you want to upgrade your hotel or your lodging. So, whatever we put you in is fine, but you have always wanted to stay at the historic El Tovar on the Canyon Ledge. So not only do you want to add an extra night, but you also want to upgrade the property. Again, no problem. And then because you are coming from and back to Los Angeles at the beginning and end of the trip, you may want to spend some time in Los Angeles as well. So we may take the Los Angeles getaway, and which is 2 nights hotel accommodations in Los Angeles with a Stars Homes trolley tour. So a trolley tour that'll go up into Beverly Hills so you can see the Stars Homes, and add it to the package. So we might have taken the original itinerary, added an extra night, upgraded the hotel, and added a whole Los Angeles itinerary to the package to create your customized vacation. Do you now understand what I mean by saying we can customize? Yes or no? As for asking questions, I will answer any and all questions at the end of the presentation today. So we have some people asking some questions. I will answer them at the Q&A session at the end of the presentation, just to go over it. But I want to thank everybody that's now saying yes when they say they understand what I say when I say we can customize the itinerary. Christy, Sally, Mark, Jane, Fred, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, what is the subject of the day? Terry, Maury, thank you for saying yes. What's the subject of the day? Can anybody remember? Glacier Park. Yes, Glacier National Park is the subject of the day. Now, why would someone want to visit Glacier National Park? Well, there is a couple of reasons. Number one, Glacier is the world's first peace park. I don't know if you knew that. There were treaties, there have been peace agreements signed within Glacier and Waterton Lakes National Parks. The Going to the Sun Road covers 50 miles of inspiring landscapes, glaciers, and waterfalls. Over 100 million people have visited the park. So if you think that you want to go to the park, you are not alone. Over 100 million people have visited Glacier National Park. The largest glacier in the park is nearly a mile long. Can you folks think about that? Imagine a glacier nowadays with everything that's going on in the environment. The largest glacier is nearly a mile long. And for those of you who, like myself, like to get out into nature, Glacier has nearly 700 miles of hiking trails. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So let's talk about some of the itineraries, such as the Glacier National Park Express. Now, folks, when you look at these maps that you're going to see for the itineraries, everywhere you're seeing a bubble or a circle with a number in it, that's the amount of nights at a hotel or lodging at a destination. Everywhere you're seeing a red arrow, that is with a number in it, that is the amount of nights overnight on board the train. I hope that's simple enough. So as you can see, we have 2 nights in Chicago, 1 night overnight on board the train from Chicago to Glacier National Park for 3 nights in Glacier, before following that arrow on the Empire Builder to Seattle for 2 nights in Seattle. Now, it is worth noting the Empire Builder regularly ranks number 3 for most scenic railroads in the Amtrak system. So it's the number 3. So you don't just get a trip out to Glacier, you get 2 major cities, a national park, and a very scenic rail adventure along the way. I think that's a great, great opportunity. Here you can see the Empire Builder going through the mountains. As it highlights here, it's one of the most scenic rail routes on the Amtrak system. It's traveling through the mountains, through the forests. Can you folks imagine sitting there in your roomette, in your bedroom, in the coach seating, in the dome car, and enjoying all of the sightseeing along the way? We include 2 nights in Chicago with a sightseeing architecture cruise. You can actually see the cruise that you would be traveling on in the slide right here. Here is the boat that is cruising out onto the river to see the beautiful skyscrapers of Chicago. Up in Glacier, we include 3 nights hotel accommodations at the Glacier Park Lodge. Does anybody remember where the ranking for Glacier Park is for sales for Amtrak vacations? I mentioned it earlier in the presentation. Does anyone remember what the ranking is for the park as a part of our destinations? All right, so I was going to give an early shout out to one of the attendees, but many of you are responding with the answer. So it is number one of our most popular destination. A couple of people put in number three. That is that I'm not going to fault anyone because I had just mentioned that the Empire Builder was the third most scenic rail route on the Amtrak system. So a little, you might have got just a little flipped over there. No problem. That's on me, not on you. And you can see why you would want to visit the park in this slide right here, because you're going to be spending 3 nights lodging in the park with a boat cruise, the Two Medicine Valley boat cruise. This is the boat you're going to be traveling on. You can actually see what you will be doing in this slide, traveling all throughout the lake. And if you want, you can actually opt into a free, no cost to you. We're not going to charge you a nickel, a free nature park led hike that'll travel through the park with a ranger. So you're going to have a national park ranger that's going to lead you throughout the park from the boat cruise. It is free. It doesn't cost anything. You can decide the day of. And the Big Sky Circle Tour of Glacier National Park. Has anyone here ever watched, maybe it's on the Discovery Channel, National Geographic, and seen a special on Glacier Park, and maybe seen the red buses, the big open top buses that travel throughout the park? Yes or no? Okay, I'm seeing about 50% no's to 50% yeses. That's okay. All good education. These are open top red long vehicles, painted red, with a retractable roof. So literally the roof can fold back, and you can quite literally stick your head right up through the roof of the vehicle as you're traveling through the mountains. Now, the drivers of the vehicles on the Big Sky Circle Tour on those red buses are known as jammers. Why? Because they might have to, as they're traveling through the terrain, jam the brakes to make everything slow down and be safe. And the jammers have a funny anecdote. The jammers say, if I have the same amount of passengers at the end of the day that I had at the beginning of the day, I can run the same tour the next day. Simple enough. Well, I kind of find that a funny anecdote, but they also find it funny. But your experience at the park is your experience through the park. And then we also include a trip out to Seattle. That's the way to cap everything off, with admission to the Space Needle and a sightseeing city tour of Seattle. So that, folks, is the Glacier National Park Express. Next up, we have the Grand National Parks with Yellowstone, Yosemite, and Glacier National Park. So imagine you can hit 3 major national parks on one itinerary, traveling on the number 1 most scenic rail route, the California Zephyr from Chicago out to Salt Lake City with a quick jaunt up for 2 nights in Yellowstone, finishing the route, the California Zephyr, out to Yosemite for 2 nights in Yosemite before traveling up to Seattle for a 1 night stay in Seattle, and then finishing the route out to Glacier to do a full stay in Glacier, and then finishing the Empire Builder route out to Chicago. What's notable also about this itinerary is not only do you get 3 major national parks on one itinerary, you get the #1 most scenic rail route on the first route, the California Zephyr, the #2 most scenic rail route on the second route, the Coast Starlight, and the #3 most scenic rail route, the Empire Builder, on the third route of the train. So you get 1, 2, and 3 in that order with 3 national parks and 3 major U.S. cities: Salt Lake City, San Francisco, and Seattle. Here you can see the California Zephyr, notable because it travels through both the heartland of the country as well as the Colorado Rocky Mountains. And when I say you're traveling through the mountains, I don't mean you're traveling nearby the mountains. I don't mean you're traveling and can see the mountains. When I say you're traveling through the mountains, you are traveling literally through holes blasted out of the side of mountains. So tunnels that are going through the mountains, and you are literally in the midst of them. You will have a stay in Salt Lake City, San Francisco, and Seattle, 3 major U.S. cities. When in Salt Lake City, we include dinner at the Roof Restaurant. That is one of the best restaurants in the city of Salt Lake City. It is on the 10th floor of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building in Temple Square. So you will get the experience of visiting and seeing the culture and history of Salt Lake City in the Temple Square area, as well as dinner at the Roof Restaurant. You will get to visit up into Yellowstone. Folks, the slide here, the picture here, you're seeing the Grand Prismatic Spring. That is one of the many geothermal features of Yellowstone, one of the many hot springs. This is one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one, with this beautiful hues of blue, green, yellow, orange. Folks, you're seeing the walk paths people are standing on. You are going to want to stay on those walk paths. These suckers are hot. You will get a full day tour out to Yosemite National Park by way of San Francisco. So you'll have a 2 night stay in San Francisco. And during that stay, we will include a full day tour that'll pick you up from Fisherman's Wharf, take you outside of the city. They'll deliver you into Yosemite in the morning for a full morning tour of the park. So you'll get to see the giant trees. You'll get to see several waterfalls, El Capitan, which is the mountains mountain to the left, and the giant areas and mountain range of Yosemite. So you get a full morning tour as well as 3.5 hours to explore the park on your own. So we actually give you some time to have your own personal time in the park before delivering you back to San Francisco at the end of the day. We include a 2 night stay in San Francisco with a hop on, hop off sightseeing tour. Travel on the Coast Starlight from San Francisco to Seattle with admission to the Space Needle. And then we include the stay in Glacier National Park with both the Big Sky Circle Tour and the boat cruise traveling out onto Two Medicine Valley Lake up in Glacier. And then the Empire Builder to cap off the trip. So that, folks, is the Grand National Parks with Yellowstone, Yosemite, and Glacier National Park all bundled together. Now, this next itinerary is worth noting because it was created because of viewers like you. Myself and a colleague went to a travel event where we were meeting travelers, potential travelers, that would come up to our booth and ask us about an itinerary that wanted to travel both through Glacier National Park and the Canadian Rockies. Did that exist? Well, actually, at the time, the itinerary did not exist. So that's where I got to give credit to travelers like you and viewers like you that wanted something like this created. We had so many folks come up to us, bombard us with questions about an itinerary like this that we had to go back to the home office and demand that they create an itinerary that combined both Glacier National Park and the Canadian Rockies. Show of hands. Does something like this excite you folks? Yes or no? All right, we are getting, let's see, let's see, Christy, Sharon, Mark, Lauren, Lawrence, Jacqueline, Donald, Jane, Russell, Tom. Oh, everybody's very excited about an itinerary like this. That is excellent. And that's just some names. If I kept going, that'd be the end of the presentation. So the Glacier National Park and the Canadian Rockies. Russell, thank you again. Russell's very excited about it. We start from Chicago, going overnight on the Empire Builder out to Glacier National Park for 2 nights in Glacier. Now, it's one less night than our traditional Glacier packages, but we still include both the 2 Medicine Valley boat cruise and the Big Sky Circle tour, so you don't really lose anything out on it. Then taking the Empire Builder out to Seattle and cutting up through the Cascade Mountain Range up into Vancouver for a 2 night stay in Vancouver before going overnight on the Canadian Via Rail system. So basically, Amtrak in Canada, the Via Rail, up into Jasper for a 1 night stay in Jasper, 2 night stay in Banff, and then heading down to Calgary with sightseeing all throughout these areas. So here is another example of what you will experience on the Empire Builder. Jacqueline says she's ready for a trip like this. I think we're all ready for a trip like this. You'll get to go up and experience Glacier National Park with the cruise and the tour, the Big Sky Circle tour that'll travel all throughout the park. Then heading up into Vancouver. So we cut through Seattle and then take the Cascades Mountain Train up to Vancouver. Heading up into Jasper. Jasper is a national park for Canada. And I'm getting Timothy, who's saying yes to this. Christina, that is saying it's a beautiful view. That's excellent. Heading down into Banff with a sightseeing tour for the mountains, lakes, and waterfalls of Banff and Lake Louise. I can't express to you the beauty of the Canadian Rockies, Jasper, Banff, and Lake Louise. I visited there 2 years ago. It is incredible. So that, folks, is the Glacier National Park with the Canadian Rockies. This has to be the package of all the packages to promote. I can't push anything further. Now, we do like to show one thing that's a little off topic to let you know that we don't just do the subject of the day. As we move in, because we're talking with the National Park series, we have more than just Glacier National Park. Some folks want to go to the Grand Canyon. So we have the Grand Canyon Getaway round trip from Chicago. So this includes round trip rail from Chicago, heading overnight on the Southwest Chief down to historic Route 66, Williams, Arizona. Upon arriving Williams, you'll spend 1 night at the Grand Canyon Railway Hotel. The next morning, you'll wake up and have breakfast. A big hearty breakfast buffet is included. You don't have to pay anything extra. It's already included within the package. And then you'll board the Grand Canyon Railway that'll travel through the desert and Ponderosa forests into the south rim of the Grand Canyon. You'll spend 1 night at the south rim with a sightseeing tour of the canyon included. After that, you'll take the same Grand Canyon Railway train back to Williams, spend one more night in Williams with a dinner included, and then take the Southwest Chief back to Chicago. So we can do the Glacier National Park. It's the subject of the day, but we also can do other national parks such as the Grand Canyon. and you can take in the beautiful red rocks, canyon views, and desert landscape. And you will get a freedom tour. That's the name of the tour. They'll travel all throughout the south rim of the canyon, getting several scenic overlook points of the canyon. So that is the Grand Canyon Getaway round trip from Chicago. But as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, just because it says Chicago, just because Chicago is the major hub of Amtrak, doesn't mean that's the only place you can get it out of. There are over 500 different stations to choose from. Now, I should mention, while we are limited at the national parks, Glacier Park, Grand Canyon, whatever it may be, where the lodging is just whatever is available, which is the Glacier Park Lodge or the Maswick Lodge, the Eltivar at the Grand Canyon. There's a couple others at the south rim of the Grand Canyon. We should state that at the major, mid-sized, and minor U.S. cities, Amtrak Vacations has several hotels for you to choose from, a menu of options, 3, 4, and 5 star, depending on whatever your request is. Packing for the train. How should you expect to pack for the train? Well, you're allowed 2 carry-ons of up to 50 pounds each per person, 2 check bags of up to 50 pounds each per person. Luggage can be checked up to 45 minutes to an hour ahead of time, and that's exactly the amount of time you should give yourself to get to the station. It's not like the airlines, the airports, where you have to get there an hour and a half to 2 hours, 3 hours if you're flying internationally. With the train, you can get there 45 minutes to an hour ahead of time and still comfortably board the train. Now, what's included when you're traveling on board the train? What are the accommodations? Well, let's first talk about coach seating. The coach seats are 2 big, plush, comfy seats. What I like is there's no pesky middle seat like you might get on the airline and you're stuck there and it's squished and uncomfortable. 2 big, plush, comfy seats that recline at a 45-degree angle with a big picture window. That's the standard for Amtrak. We want you to see the country from the window of the train. And so you can sit there, sit back, relax. You don't have to book yourself into the most expensive accommodation on the train. You can be in a coach accommodation and still view the country from the window of the train. As I mentioned, the seats recline at a 45-degree angle. You can rest there quite comfortably. There's plenty of legroom. There's a leg rest that'll kick up, a tray table that will fold down for drinks, snacks, laptops, devices, whatever it may be, outlets to charge said devices in. Plenty of room above head for luggage, and I can't emphasize this enough, legroom, legroom, legroom. They always say location, location, location. Well, with the train, it's legroom, legroom, legroom. You can get up, stand up, walk out of the seat without bothering the person next to you. And you can mosey about the cabins on the train because you can walk and stretch your legs. The next step up is the sleeper roomette, which is its own private cabin on the train. That's kind of the mid-range between the top of the line and the coach seating. It's its own cabin, a big picture window in every cabin, 2 big plush seats, very comfy seats that face each other. There's a tray table that will fold down. The door will shut and lock from the inside, blinds that will go over the windows for privacy. At night, as you can see by the diagram, everything folds down to bunk-style sleeping accommodations. Now, you're probably looking at this and saying to yourself or to me, I don't see a bathroom in this room. That is true. The bathrooms are down the hall for the roomettes. There are 3 to 4 bathrooms for every roomette car, and only those staying in the roomette car have access to those bathrooms, which are constantly cleaned out by the sleeping car attendant. However, if you would like your own private bathroom and shower accommodation in the room itself, the next step up is the sleeper bedroom, which is the top of the line. It's the biggest room type of rooms on the train with a long couch, as you can see by the woman sitting there, a captain's chair, as we like to refer to it, a big comfy chair, as you can see by the gentleman, a nice big picture window to enjoy the sights out of, a tray table that will fold down. Everything, as you can see by the diagram, still folds down to bunk style sleeping in the evening, but you have your own bathroom and shower accommodations in the room itself. Dining on the train is included whenever you have a sleeper compartment. So the price is automatically factored in. You don't have to pay anything extra. Good news? I think so. You don't have to shell anything out of pocket as long as you book a sleeper compartment. Now, there have been long rumors and many negative articles from people on the internet about dining cars being removed from the train. I haven't seen any questions about it so far on the presentation, but it is worth bringing up because there are a lot of false pieces of news on the internet about the dining cars being removed. Here is what is actually happening. On the superliner trains, the superliner trains are basically all the long distance trains running from Chicago westward, going west, all the long distance trains. The dining cars are remaining the same. They're on the train. The meals are included for those in a sleeper compartment. And if you're in coach but want to go down to the dining car, as long as there are reservations available, you can go and purchase meals out of pocket. For anyone on the Viewliner trains, which is Chicago going east, the dining cars have been removed. They have since been replaced with brand new lounge cars, state of the art, brand new, right off the shelves, so to speak, lounge cars that are only accessible for the travelers in the roomettes or bedrooms. The meals are still included, and those in the roomettes or bedrooms can choose either to have their dining in the lounge car or have the dining distributed to them and brought to them in their cabin. So that is what is going on with the dining on the train. And the dining on the train is phenomenal. We have a full menu of fresh cooked to order options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dining on the train is one of the main highlights of traveling on board Amtrak. Everyday discounts. Children aged between 2 years old to 12 years old receive half off the base rail portion of the Amtrak ticket. Seniors 65 or older receive 10% off the base rail portion of the Amtrak ticket. Any active military personnel, spouses, and dependents receive 10% off the base rail portion of the Amtrak ticket. Now, I'm very excited because I just had Jacqueline ask me about what about retired military? So let me ask you folks, do we have any veterans here on the presentation today? Yes or no? Okay, so we're getting yes. One person said yes, U.S. Navy. What branches, other than the one person that said U.S. Navy, did you serve in? Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, more Air Force, even more Air Force, Army, more Navy. Okay, well, here is the skinny. As of the beginning of year, Air Force and Navy. Okay, we got more coming through. As of the beginning of the year, Amtrak Vacations and Amtrak threw out the original rules because you used to have to be in a Veterans Advantage program, a certain program set up to get the discounts, and you actually had to purchase into that program. Amtrak Vacations has thrown that out the window and said as long as you are a veteran, you will get a 10% discount. So you don't have to be a senior, 65 and over. You don't have to really prove anything. You just tell us when you're booking with a friendly vacation consultant at Amtrak Vacations that you are a veteran and you will be allotted your 10% discount. Now, before I ask the question, or get asked the question rather, do you get the senior discount and the veteran discount? No, you can't combine discounts. You either get one or the other. So either you can come in as a senior or you can come in as a veteran. And yes, we are going to be adding the Veteran Advantage discount to the slide. So we'll get that done. Now, let's recap. Number one, We have our upgrade and save event going on through March 6th, where as long as you book a package, and a package includes hotels and sightseeing and the train with an upgrade to a roomette or a bedroom, you can save $200 off when upgrading and booking into a roomette, or $300 off when upgrading and booking into a bedroom. A reminder about the handouts. We have one highlighting our upgrade and save event, and one highlighting the sleeping accommodations on board the train. Now, one last question for you folks. What rail vacation or destination are you interested in, and when would you like to go? Feel free to type your answers into the questions box on the side of the GoToWebinar panel. Sorry, I jumped back to a slide by accident. And now, as I ask you a question, I will answer some of your questions. So we had multiple folks asking if we've already booked, can we use the upgrade and save event? No, I apologize. If you've already booked, the upgrade and save event is for new bookings. What I will say is this: I am almost 100% guaranteeing if you already booked, depending on when you booked, already saving more than what you would have saved if you waited to book for the upgrade and save sale event. And so if you've already booked for this year, most likely that $200 or $300 would have already been excluded, because you would have most likely have already saved more by booking in advance than what you would have had by waiting to book during the sale event. So someone's asking, if you book a roomette and you book by yourself, do you have to share the sleeping quarters with other people? Absolutely not. That is not a thing. If you book your roomette and you're traveling as a single traveler, that cabin, that roomette, that bedroom, whatever you've booked on the train for accommodations, that is your cabin. You do not have to share with anyone else. So do not fear that. It is your cabin. You booked it. You paid for it. You are not splitting it with a stranger. Someone's asking how long the hike is off, or a couple of people, off of the Two Medicine Valley boat cruise. It's not a difficult hike. I can tell you we have folks in their 60s, mid 60s, late 60s that do the hike all the time. So well, not during the winter, but in the in the summer season, of course, they do the hike all the time. You do not have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about your endurance. It's pretty leisurely. The national park rangers are very good also at deciding or figuring out whether you should be on the hike or not. Someone is asking, are taxes included within the pricing? So no, taxes are not included in the original pricing, but when you work with an Amtrak vacations consultant, the taxes are included within the final pricing that we provide you over the phone. We had multiple people asking for the veterans discount to be included within the slide. I agree with you 100%. We are going to get that updated. I kind of like to do a special surprise, which is why I didn't include that in the slide right now, mostly because we had so many years where you had to be in a specific program as a veteran. And so I kind of like to have a big reveal, kind of like a da 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 da, and for the veterans. So for those who wish that it would be in the slide, I will make sure it gets added there. I guess my showmanship, I didn't create the slideshow, but I guess my showmanship has gotten the best of me. So I will make sure it gets added to the slide. But yes, veterans absolutely get the discount, so I do apologize for that. So we had Sally that was happy that we mentioned how the dining cars were going about. I know we've had multiple people happy about that on how the dining cars are working. And so I want to reiterate the dining is not being removed from Amtrak. So someone's asking for AAA discounts or special discounts outside. That you will have to talk with uh, your advisor. As for menus, you can see those on the Amtrak website. We're seeing lots of people respond to what rail vacation they want to go to. Glacier National Park, Salt Lake City, Glacier in the Rockies, Vancouver, more Glacier, West Coast in Canada, Yellowstone, Washington, D.C., Grand Canyon, more Glacier and Canadian Rockies. Hard to decide. All national parks are great. Are handicap travelers accessible? Yes, there are ADA handicap accessible cabins on the lower level of the train, and so we absolutely can help you go along. Someone's asking, can you book the trip from Chicago to Glacier without doing the Seattle portion? Yes, absolutely. In fact, there's the Glacier Park getaway round trip from Chicago. It's one of a very popular many itineraries that we do. We do not do groups. We had multiple people ask about, can I book a group and save money? No, Amtrak Vacations does not do groups. It almost never works out for a group, and so we don't put that out there. We book on a per couple, per family, per small group of 2 to 4 to 6 people basis, first come, first serve. Can 3 people occupy a bedroom? No. The maximum amount of people in a roomette or bedroom is 2. Now, there is one asterisk, one exception to a third person in a bedroom. That is 2 adults and a small child. And when I say small child, the child has to be 40 pounds or less. That is Amtrak's regulation. So most of the time, in a roomette or bedroom, it's 2 adults or uh, or 1 adult, 1 child, but 2 people in general. The bedroom can fit 1/3 person. It's a small child, 40 pounds or less. Uh, Best time to go to the Rockies? That really depends on which Rockies you're talking about, because there's the Canadian Rockies and the Denver Rockies or the Colorado Rockies. I would say for the uh, Canadian Rockies, that is late spring, summer, early fall to mid fall. For the Colorado Rockies, that's actually winter, spring, summer, and I'd say late winter, spring, summer, and early fall. Sounds like a song. Do any of the vacations leave from Minneapolis, St. Paul? Absolutely. There are over 500 different stations, and we have them come from Minneapolis, St. Paul all the time. What is the weather like in Glacier in June? Warm. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is available on the regional trains. We are working to get Wi-Fi added to the long distance trains, but if you think about it, when you're traveling through the heart of the desert, heart of the forest, heart of the mountains, there's not a lot of Wi-Fi service, not a lot of cell service available, so it's going to go down at that point. We are looking to add it, but we are trying, but there are exceptions to the rule. Someone's asking about the dining car for dining restrictions, vegan, vegetarian, folks who are gluten free. You would just have to tell the dining car attendant when you went for the meal, and they will absolutely make exceptions and help you with your meals for that. So someone's asking about when to book for best pricing for Glacier Park now. Right now. This minute. 2 minutes from now. I'm not joking. There is a sale going on. It's a flash sale event. I'm a showman. I like to be presenting, but I'm not joking. I've been with the company for 8 years. The earliest you book this is the cheapest you're going to get it. I was just at a conference. Someone asked me, a customer came up to me and said, "When should I book Glacier?" I said, "As soon as possible." And they said, "Okay, as soon as possible. Do you mean May?" And I said, "No." I said, "As soon as possible." So they said, "As soon as possible, you mean April?" I said, "No, right now. Go and book right now. The earliest you book it is the cheapest you're going to get it. If you wait, you're going to spend more money." I can't emphasize that enough. I don't want you to spend more money. Do I want you to book? Of course I do. Do I want you to save money? Of course I do. Don't wait to book. Book now. Deposit now. Someone is asking, is the national park entrance fee included on the tours? You do have to pay the national park fees when you go into the parks. Most of our packages don't include that. The Grand Canyon stuff does, but for the national park fees, you do have to pay that upon entering the park. Do we have any itineraries that leave from Ohio? Absolutely. There's multiple stations in Ohio. There's over 500 different stations. And then as for entertainment on the trains, well, number one, you're going to be seeing the country from the window of the train. That's entertainment enough. During the summer, the Amtrak does offer opportunities to students, college students, that maybe play music, or national park rangers that want to come on and do lectures. It's not all the time, but it is fairly regularly. And so there is some entertainment on the train, but the benefit is just traveling, enjoying the country from the window of the train. Someone's asking if we have the National Park Pass. Do you still have to pay for the entrance? No. If you have a National Park Pass, then you do not have to pay anything extra. Do you allow pets? Service dogs only, with the documentation that proves they're a service animal, not a comfort animal, a full service dog that is allowed. Thank you, folks, for signing on to the presentation today. I know I didn't answer everybody's question. We had several hundred people on the presentation asking questions. So if I didn't answer everyone's question, I know I didn't. Feel free to give a call at 1-800-268-7252. And thank you for signing on to the presentation today. And I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to go to Glacier, call 1-800-268-7252 and ask about Glacier. Get it done. Have a nice day.